You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG, it's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 654.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, the view from our side of the cockpit door. With your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from the APG Road Vessel Studio. Today's show is recorded on the week of March 10th, 2025.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Picture light and he's flying by with the Airline Pilot Guy.
In today's episode, a plane carrying 5 people crashes in Pennsylvania.
The aircraft is down out just behind the terminal on the parking lot street area.
And another plane is guided to a landing after losing all electrical power. Also ahead, more news and your feedback. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger, and Flight 654 is ready for pushback.
He is Radio Roger. He's an award-winning TV and radio reporter, currently at the number one all-news station in the nation, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM in
New York City!
Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and answering your great feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, former U.S. Air Force pilot and retired Delta Airlines captain. And joining me today from his studio,
in Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire,
retired professional dog photographer, former RAF, RAAF fighter pilot, retired Airbus A330, A340 captain for Virgin Atlantic Airways. It's the lovely Captain Nick.
Thank you very much indeed, Captain Jeff. Great to be back on the show as always. APG 654. Now, Crytopia Airways Flight 654 was a non-stop domestic scheduled flight from Crytopia International Airport on Crytopia Island to Tilted Towers International Airport, Fortnite, operated by a Boeing 727-100, which crashed on August the 14th, 1989. The plane presumably became lost in a storm. I did all that, and then I read a little note at the bottom of the page which said, all content on this site is entirely fictional. No aviation accidents on this site have ever occurred in real life, and they likely never will.
Wait, well, where was that supposed to be going from to?
From Crytopia.
What's Crytopia?
International Airport.
It's
That's
a
what
fictional name.
I was going to say, when you were saying that, I think I've never heard of Crytopia.
Well, I'm not surprised.
Craptopia
Doesn't exist.
That's where we are. Is
Yeah, we're in
Craptopia.
Craptopia. Show title, possibly. All right.
Possible.
Interesting. Well,
That's what I thought.
I was thinking August of 1989. I was already flying for Delta Airlines at the time on a 727-200.
But did you fly to Crytopia?
I never have. Yeah.
No.
So thank goodness.
And likely never will.
And likely never will. All right. Very good. And also joining us from her studio in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, retired financier and aviation enthusiast, spreadsheet master, and our producer. It's the lovely, lovely Liz Piper.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you, Nicholas. Good to be here with you, gentlemen.
So nice
Our
to
pleasure.
have you with us as well.
Yeah.
And we should be joined by another lovely lady, Dr. All that stuff.
The loveliest.
Yeah, the loveliest. While the show is in progress in about, I don't know, maybe about 45
minutes
or
or
so.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. So we look
Have
forward
a good
to that.
show, you guys.
Well, thanks
Thanks,
Liz.
Liz.
Thanks you. I can't talk straight anymore.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay, I can hear you, by the way.
Okay, that's good.
Good check. All right. Since this is an aviation podcast and we claim that we cover aviation news, I guess we should just go ahead and play this news bumper.
Stand by for news.
Okay, on the when this was just a couple of days ago. Like, was it yesterday that we?
Yesterday, I believe. Yeah.
Yesterday, the preliminary report was released for the accident, the midair collision near DCA, Washington, D.C., on the 29th of January of 2025, was released. And so they go through and talk about the setup for this whole flight. I guess I should read this. It was about 20:48 Eastern Standard Time, a Sikorsky UH-60 Lima, operated by the U.S. Army under the call sign PAT-25, and a Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. I think it was probably, well, I don't know. I always think of it as a Bombardier, RJ.
They sold the program to me.
Oh, they sold everything over to the Japanese. Okay. CL-602C10, a CRJ-700. November 709 Papa Sierra, operated by PSA Airlines as Flight 5342. They were operating on behalf of American Airlines. Collided in flight approximately half a mile southeast of Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport in Arlington, Virginia. Impacted the Potomac River in southwest Washington, District of Columbia. The 2 pilots, 2 flight attendants, and 60 passengers on board the plane. Let's see, there were that many, and all 3 crew members aboard the helicopter were fatally injured. Both aircraft were destroyed as a result of the accident. Flight 5342 was operating under the provisions of Title 14 Code of Federal Regulations, Part 121, or we usually just say FAR, Part 121, as a scheduled domestic passenger flight from Wichita Dwight D. Eisenhower National Airport, Wichita, Kansas, to DCA. PAT-25, the helicopter, originated from Davison Army Airfield, Fort Belvoir, Virginia, for the purpose of the pilot's annual standardization evaluation with the use of night vision goggles, or NVGs. Night vision meteorological conditions prevailed in the area of DCA at the time of the accident. And then they have a figure here that shows the preliminary radar track over the Potomac, and let's see, the track of the helicopter and the track of Flight 5342, and where the 2 came together, which was exactly about a half-mile final for runway 33 at DCA. Okay, so it talks about the crew experience. We've already talked a lot about this. Let's see, is there anything in particular in the preliminary report that is information that we haven't really discussed on the show?
A lot of it is confirmation, I think, Jeff, because there was various reports about whether ADS-B was available, were they on MVGs, and most of that is confirmed. They weren't using ADS-B. I don't think they were on NVGs. Of interest to me, and I'm not certain whether we had this absolutely in concrete before, was some of the radio transmissions that were blocked by the helicopter themselves, so they missed, I don't say vital, but they missed some important data, one of which was that the CRJ was circling, and the word circling was definitely not received on the helicopter's cockpit voice recorder. So they may not have been looking in the same piece of sky as they might otherwise have. And there was another call that was partly blocked again, which was that they were told to pass behind the traffic. And I think that was partially blocked as well. So I think we're forming I am forming the conclusion that, the not all that situational awareness information might have got through to the helicopter crew. But on the other hand, the sort of information that I was looking for was there another aircraft in the vicinity that the helicopter crew might have mistaken
onto? Yeah.
Exactly right. Mistaken for the CRJ, and that they didn't actually see the CRJ, but there's no indication of that. All the graphics just show the relationship of the two involved aircraft, and no one else in the vicinity. But I don't know whether that's actually the case or not.
Okay. What I was going to add, and they talk about at the very end of this preliminary, is the fact that I saw on YouTube, and probably it was broadcast on the major mainstream media sources here in the U.S. and maybe around several places around the world. But the National Transportation Safety Board gave a briefing, and they announced that they are putting out or issuing 2 urgent safety recommendations to the FAA concerning the helicopter routes near DCA. And because they had a review of information gathering from voluntary safety reporting programs, along with FAA data regarding encounters between helicopters and commercial aircraft near DCA from 2011 through 2024, so a 13-year period, indicated that the vast majority of the reported events occurred on approach to landing. Initial analysis found that at least one TCAS resolution advisory, an RA, was triggered per month due to proximity to a helicopter. In over half of these instances, the helicopter may have been above the route altitude restriction, which seems to be the case in this accident. 2/3 of the events occurred at night. So another review of commercial operations, instrument flight rules, departures, or arrivals at DCA between October 2021 and December 2024 indicated a total of 944,179 operations. During that time, there were 15,214 occurrences between commercial airplanes and helicopters in which there was a lateral separation distance of less than 1 nautical mile and vertical separation of less than 400 feet. There were 85 recorded events that have involved a lateral separation less than 1,500 feet and vertical separation less than 200 feet. So this is the reason why they were saying, you know what, we need to do something about this. We need to put out, and the new FAA director has already suspended those helicopter routes around the area of DCA on a temporary basis. But I think the NTSB was requesting that they make this something permanent, so that and come up with some kind of an alternative routing for the helicopters so that they aren't exposed to commercial traffic trying to land at DCA. So, yeah.
Yeah, good point. The CRJ crew definitely had a resolution advisory on the helicopter. Traffic alert on the helicopter. And I suspect that someone was looking out the window at that point, because just before the collision, of course, they attempted a full deflection pitch maneuver upwards to try and escape from the helicopter that was they obviously picked up. They weren't successful in that. It takes a while for an aircraft not just to pitch, but actually to start physically moving in the air. So, but it just shows to me that actually, no, they had looked out of their window at it. But again, you know, there's interesting about these height of aircraft 400 feet apart and 200 feet apart. Well, that would be pretty normal, I would have thought, because, you know, if you are flying below 200 feet right under the final approach path to that runway, every time someone gets close in position, not in height, even if you're being fairly legal, I think it would be quite an eye-opener to have a helicopter go underneath you on finals just a couple of 100 feet below you. That would probably, raise some eyebrows. I'm surprised that perhaps this is, hadn't been thought of before, shifting the corridors or changing the procedures somehow.
Speaking of that, the lateral corridor procedures of these helicopter routes, there's really no defined corridor that they're supposed to, like, it's a general instruction about where you should be flying, but not exactly defined parameters as far as this is the lateral confines of this route. And so
That's right.
That's something that they're going to
It
have
gives
to
the
do.
impression that they hug the eastern coast of the river, the eastern edge of the river along that, so that they've got as much as possible lateral separation from the airport and the helicopter route. But apparently, once they've got traffic sighted, they basically they separate themselves from the traffic. They don't worry too much about where they are over what part of the river. And that wasn't really a requirement of that route for them to fly specifically of that blue line. There are no defined edges of it, for example. So I won't say it sounds all a bit ad hoc. I think it probably worked very well and had done for many, many flights. But something on this particular flight led them to be a little high. And there was obviously something I read, a definite 100-foot height difference between the pilot monitoring altimeter and the pilot flying altimeter. You're not sure which one is right. And when you've actually only got a few 100 feet separation, 100-foot altimeter error is a big proportion of the height separation you should have. Yeah, it is.
Ed's got a comment in the chat room, Jeff.
Ed Kof in our live chat says, even if the helicopter stayed below their ceiling and this accident did not happen, I'd never think the FAA would be okay with a helicopter passing below an airliner by 100 feet. Yeah, I wouldn't think so either.
No,
but
and we've seen enough airliners deviate from a flight path on the approach to a runway recently to realize that people do make mistakes and they often get corrected, or people go around. We had one just last show. We were mentioning an Asiana flight, weren't we, that went into San Francisco, went several hundred feet below its normal flight path going into San Fran.
Right.
And if you've got helicopters going underneath you on a designated route and you get regular errors like that, then yes, eventually someone's going to have a really bad incident, and this was one.
Just to get back to something you mentioned, Captain Nick, regarding the TA, the traffic alert. Was that a traffic alert that was issued to the CRJ below 500 feet? And if so, was that muted? Because I think there's something in the system that below 500 feet, you still get the TA warning, but you don't actually get the oral warning that comes along with it.
I'm trying to find that spot in the report.
Because I didn't really read the preliminary report. There are a lot of, I know, really? I'm admitting, I'm confessing to everybody. There are a lot of things going on in my life right now that I haven't shared. So maybe one of these days when I reveal
we'll have
things.
A special show on that.
Yeah,
Jeff will be lying on a couch.
Yeah, we'll be having some psychological
therapy.
And therapy. Yeah. So I was pretty busy the last few days, so didn't get a chance to thoroughly prepare myself for this. So that's why I'm relying on Captain Nick and all his wisdom and knowledge.
I was giving a talk yesterday, and I was.
So he has actually a legitimate excuse for not prepping.
All right. At the crew of Flight 5342 received an automatic traffic advisory from the airplane's traffic alert saying traffic. At this time, the aircraft were 0.95 of a nautical mile apart. So does it say what height they were? It should do on the diagram. No, it doesn't. It just gives area of collision.
So they did get an oral alert. Okay.
Yeah. So when it happened less than a mile apart, I would have thought the crew would have been looking out of the window at that point. Or one of them would. They've got 3 on board the flight deck, I think, as I recall.
Are you talking about the Archer?
No, the helicopter had 3 now.
Yeah.
No, the CRJ just had the 2, didn't they?
Right.
Yeah.
And if St. Francis was on board the CRJ, no one would ever refer to him as San Fran. Shame on you, Nick. That was from Tim Bam Ram, who is a resident of the San Francisco Bay Area. Not the San Fran Bay Area, the San Francisco.
Yeah, I think they're just being a bit picky, personally.
Okay. All right. So, again, we'll release information as it's released from the National Transportation Safety Board on this horrible tragedy. All right. Moving to this next one, and we have a video.
North 572, can you do me a favor?
Yes.
Yeah, we got an emergency inbound to Lufkin Airport, and they're having a hard time with their electricals, and I don't know if they can turn on the runway lights there at Lufkin. So can you switch over to that frequency and turn them on for me? I believe it's the Unicom.
Yeah, we can try to do that. Thrust 572.
It's Thrust 572. It's 123.0 for the Lufkin Unicom.
123.0 for the Unicom.
You go to that frequency and you click it 5 times. Or 7. Okay.
Since when has 123.0 been approved RT?
Yeah.
It's
America.
Were you trying to call Houston Center? So I know you're having an emergency situation here with electrical issues. Acknowledge with an identity here. This.
I don't see an identity.
Air Share 301 Houston.
Hello. Air Share.
When I think you're trying to call Center, I got Lufkin Airport here, 12 o'clock and about 30 miles. I can't hear anything you're trying to say. If you can if you hear this, I'd appreciate it. Lufkin altimeter 3005. Air Share 301 to Lufkin, weather, automated observation wind 170-9er, visibility 10, ceiling broken at 4,500, overcast at 6,000, temperature 182.6, altimeter 3005. Thrust 572, able to switch over there to turn on those runway lights. I mean, you probably can't see from that location, but were you able to do that?
We pressed mic 7 times on the frequency. We're still far away from it. We'll keep trying as we get closer, and now we can't see the airport. Thrust 572.
Thrust 572, I appreciate your help. Air Share 301, I think the runway alignment lights to runway 7 are out. Air Share 301, I'm not sure if you can hear any of this. We did have an aircraft try to turn on the runway lights for you. Air Share 301, with the wind being 170, are you wanting to land any runway? Are you wanting 16? If so, acknowledge with 3 clicks. Air Share 301, Lufkin Airport is off at your 1 o'clock, like a 262 heading and 12 miles.
Obviously, they're having some issues with electricity.
Air Share 301, are you setting up for runway 34? If so, acknowledge with 3 clicks.
Center Air Share 301 emergency.
Oh.
Air Share 301, Houston.
Got you loud and clear now, Air Share 301.
Air Share 301, Houston, I've got you loud and clear, Lufkin altimeter 3005.
Need the winds again because we need probably at least 5 feet.
Air Share 301, yeah, wind at Lufkin is 170 at Niner. Stand by on the runway link.
I think 5100 landing to the west. We are at total emergency, our total electrical failure at this time.
Well, almost.
And Air Share 301, the longest runway at Lufkin is runway 725, 1,400 feet. Is a hard surface.
5,400 feet.
Okay, anything close by? Well, we'll take that.
Air Share 301, if you could ping 3,000, and are you able to turn with headings?
You can turn with heading, correct.
Air Share 301, I'm got a lot of background noise here. You can take headings?
Yes, we can take headings at this time.
301, Roger, would you like to land?
Lufkin?
Always probably to the west if we could come straight in.
Air Share 301, your Lufkin Airport right now is 2 o'clock at about 6 miles. You're still a little high. Do you have the airport in sight at all? I think there's a layer out there.
Now we're descending at a 7,100 this time.
Picture 301, Roger. Just fly your present heading right now and make like a 250 heading. I'll give you a base turn here shortly to line you up for runway 7 since you're overflying the airport right now.
Okay, present heading, and we'll take the base turn. Air 301.
You're not in a position to take a
Air 301, you're still a little high. I'm going to have you on the heading for a minute or two and turn you to the north, which will be a base turn for runway 7, which is the longest runway they have at Lufkin. Once you're the layer there, let me know. I did have an aircraft try to switch over to Unicron. Runway lights on for you.
We're just breaking out right now. We're kind of in the bottoms here. We're passing 4,700.
Sure, 301, Roger. Maintain 2,500, please.
2,500, Air Share 301.
Air Share 301, flighting of 340.
Heading 340, Air Share 301.
572, are you able 5,000 to get you below the layer to see if the runway lights are on?
Yeah, we can do that to 572.
572, just going to maintain 5,000.
Just going to maintain 5,000 to 572.
Air Share 301, fly heading 020 now.
Right to 020, and don't make it, we're got quite a few checklists to run.
Well, they told
Tourist 572, turn 30 degrees right, get you over towards Lufkin Airport out this emergency.
Turn 30 degrees right, thrust 572.
Air Share 301, just updating you on your position. You're about 11 miles west of the field. I'm going to turn you around to the right to try to line you up on runway 7.
Share 301. Center, I hate to do this, but we did, with this configuration, we need 6,000 feet. Is there anything close to Lufkin?
Share 301, stand by. Share 301, in this vicinity, the longest runway is at Lufkin at 5,400 feet. The next closest would be 5,000.
That's less.
Air Share 301, are you still wanting to try to land Lufkin, or do you want to go somewhere else?
We're rerunning the numbers right now.
Air Share 301, Roger. Flight heading of 120 when you're able.
Right to 120, Air Share 301.
Air Shuttle 16, airport section. Air Share 301, the longest runway at Texas Regional is 6,109 feet.
Where's
How
that?
far away is that?
Air Share 301, it's after 11 o'clock and about, let's go with 5060 miles.
Stick with Lufkin. I got off altitude. I'm sending back down to 2,500.
Air Share 301, can you say that again?
We'll take Lufkin, either 07 or 25.
Okay, yeah, you're in a beautiful base turn right now for 25. If you could, fly heading of 110.
Heading 110, Air Share 301.
Press 572, let me know if you get to the airport in sight, please.
Lights are on at Lufkin.
Press 572, thank you so much.
I would have them do the clicks again.
Share 301, that heading should line perfectly up with that runway. I've got confirmation from that thrust light that the runway lights are on.
Okay, my FO has it. I'm still looking. Air Share 301, I'm going to do some S-turns.
Air Share 301, you said you have it in sight?
You have the runway in sight. We're just high.
Air Share 301, Roger. And be advised, runway 16 is only 4,000 feet. Again, runway 725 is 5,400 feet.
Okay.
We would like 725.
Air Share 301, Roger. Are you, what heading are you turning toward?
We've got the airport in sight. I'm heading about 180, but it looks like we're lined up on, looks like we're lined up on, we're left of the south runway.
Air 301, Real, you're on a really tight left base right now for runway 7, which is the longest runway. If you need to turn it a little bit further right, if you land 7, that's approved, obviously, and
we're we're going to go out and line up for runway 007.
Good idea.
Air 301, Roger. Able to maintain 2,400 feet.
Climbing to 2.4.
Air 301, thank you. Sir, 572, just going to need your help with the reference that emergency here. I'll get you back on course after the 360. I really appreciate your help.
No problem, sir. 572.
Airshare 301, fly heading of 270.
Airshare 31, and you're lining me up for 07, correct?
Airshare 301, yes sir, I'm going to line you up for runway 7. I'm going to give you a nice long downwind pace here, and give you about 8-9 miles to line up. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Airshare 3, you could maintain 3,000.
This controller is really calm.
I think we can turn in now, Airshare 31.
Airshare 31, Roger, turn left, heading 160.
60, Airshare 301.
Airshare 301, going to maintain 2,400.
2,400, Airshare 301, and heading 180, you said?
Airshare 301, say again?
I've got the Airshare 301.
Airshare 301, yes sir, and I'm going to line you up with that runway here about 105. Airshare 301, kind of overshooting the center line there, heading of 085.
Yeah, we're rolling out this.
Airshare 301, perfect. Airshare 301, advisories is approved unless you want to stay here with me. I will need confirmation that you're on the ground safely, please.
Yeah, we'll stay with this. It's okay, because only one of us has radios, and that's me flying.
Airshare 301, Roger. Yeah, that's fine. I do not see any traffic in the vicinity. You're still about 3.5 miles west of the field there. That's flight 572. Can you go over to Unicom and transmit for that air share that they're taking runway 7?
Yes, we can do that. Lufkin traffic. There is a Phenom on short final for runway 7. Emergency aircraft, Lufkin.
Airshare 301, we're on.
Airshare 301, thank you so much, sir. I appreciate everything you've done tonight.
Thank you. Didn't know if we would make it.
Airshare 301, I got your isolation, obviously. Y'all have a good night.
Okay, and Airshare 301.
Would you like 7,000 again?
Almost sounded like they were getting emotional there.
572.
Yeah,
572, I'll maintain 7,000.
7,000, sir. 572, thanks.
And for 7 or 5, thank you so much for your help. It helped a lot.
Happy to help. Other safe, sir. 572.
Yeah, I don't think they would have been able to turn on the runway lights, so you really, really, really helped. Thank you.
Center Airshare 301. Can you notify anybody we're on the runway so you can show 055 closed? We may have 2 tires, but
may have blown
we're
2
going to need
tires.
some help. I don't know. Make a call to anybody would be great.
Sure, 301. Yeah, we're getting on that now. Are y'all safe, though? Is everything okay?
Safe. All well.
Okay. In Airshare 301, before you go, how many souls on board? We
I was going to ask about that.
Total of 5 souls on board.
Ooh.
You could show 0725 closed.
Yeah, I will pass that along. Do y'all need any kind of equipment out there, or fire trucks or anything like that?
Yeah, we see 2 trucks kind of racing down the taxiway, coming towards us.
Need anything else? I'll be here.
All right.
Oh,
wow.
Great.
Happy ending in this case. So some of you may be wondering about, he said it was a total electrical failure. I guess I don't know if I'd say total electrical failure, because he did have obviously emergency, either standby and or emergency backup
Do you want me
power
to put that slide up, Jeff?
remaining.
yeah, I think he had a battery. That's all he had left.
So he was operating on battery power. And I don't know, I'm not familiar with the Phenom, how long the battery power is good, powering the emergency buses. One of our APG community members has flown the Phenom. Well, probably several of our community members have. But they put this graphic up in social media about the items that you would be losing if you had a complete electrical failure. And, it's got some things on there that really are more like comfort and not that important, but there are also many things on there that are kind of critical items to have powered that they lose in this case. But that's why he was referring to running checklists and such. But I was thinking to myself when he said that, Captain Nick, that if he's on emergency power, that means, he's running off the battery bus, and, how long is that battery going to last before it runs out of juice? And
good question.
Yeah.
30, 45 minutes, perhaps. Most of them, in most aircraft that I have, the batteries have a minimum power of 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So anything above that is great, but that's all you can absolutely rely on.
Now, it was nice and helpful for that other flight to do the 7 clicks for the lights at Lufkin. I will say, though, that if there weren't any other airplanes in the area, because the AirShare flight was transmitting on center frequency, that they would have been able to switch over to 123. I think they'd have the ability to switch radio frequencies to 123.0 and do the clicks themselves. So it wouldn't have been completely, unattainable or whatever. Well, thanks, Ant, in our live chat. He likes my my road vessel studio that he's seeing in the video. It's when you look at it from the outside, it doesn't look that big, but you come on in, and it's like it appears that I have a king size bed.
Yeah.
And a lot of
it's
room.
like a TARDIS.
TARDIS, yeah, that's it. Anyway, so we don't really. I don't think we have any other information exactly what happened here, why they lost the electronics on the jet, but you could tell that at first there was mostly one-way communication with the flight from ATC. And then at some point, they must have run appropriate checklists to restore the emergency bus, or maybe that they finally realized, hey, first officer, as much as you're trying to talk on the radio, it's not going to happen because I'm the only one that's going to have the ability to do that, and I have to fly the.
I'm working like a one-arm paper hanger here.
Yeah, and I think most of the all the airplanes I think I've flown are like this. So you get into a situation like this. And you're down to just barely, minimum electronically powered things for a very limited amount of time. Guess what? If you're the sitting in the left seat, you're the one that's going to be running the whole circus. Your FO is going to be there to help with reading checklists and that kind of thing. But pretty much you're going to be doing all the communicating, and you're going to be doing all the flying and everything else from the left. All your instruments on the left side of the cockpit, the captain's seat, are going to have all the information. And basically, if you look over at your first officer's side, the right seat and the panel and everything else, it's going to be very, very dark. Not much going on.
In fact, the whole airplane's going to be pretty dark, because I'm looking at the list of kit they lose. They lose all their landing lights, taxi lights. They lose beacons. They lose their strobes. So there's very little on the outside of the aircraft. I don't know what they've got on the inside. Probably just some emergency floodlights. I see they've lost engine 1/2 fuel flow. I'm not quite sure what that refers
Maybe that's
to, but they do
indication.
lose. Yeah, good point. They lose their number 2 fuel pump. That was common with us. We were left with 1 booster pump out of 4. They no pitch trim, no automatic pressurization, which can be a real nightmare when you're trying to deal with an emergency, trying to manually control the pressurization as well. A lot of warnings like spoilers and stall warning, stall protection, dampers, and a lot of navigation equipment they've lost. So I think over overall, they did a damn good job. This is about as nasty as it gets on most airplanes to have total electrics failure. And I must admit, on our emergency checklists, I think when we're down a battery only, we still called that a total electrics failure. So that's probably what he was telling air traffic, because that's what the emergency was defined as, I guess.
All right. I guess I was just being too particular. Sorry. Go ahead, Liz.
You guys would practice in the sim? Is this a
sim?
Yep.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
It was a horrible, in the Airbus, it's a horrible emergency. And, it's just, if you've got a sim with, and they've listed all the possible emergencies, and in amongst them is total electrics, you start breaking out in a cold sweat a month beforehand. So, it was just a nightmare of a drill. But I tell you what, I was just a little bit curious. Do you guys in America have a speechless radio procedure? Because we do, and ICAO does. And I was just a bit surprised when she was asking the aircraft to acknowledge with 3 blips, because in the speechless radio procedure, you sound you just activate your transmit switch 4 times to indicate you've got a failure. From then on, it's 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for say again. And so, if in the UK, if you were doing this and they wanted you to acknowledge that you were speechless and are you able to do such and such, you go 1 for yes, not 3 for yes. So I was just curious with.
Okay, so you're talking about the radio transmitter, but you're not able to actually have any voice over it, but you can still make the clicking sound. Okay. No, yes, I'm not familiar with any procedure over here. Maybe I made it through my 35 years without knowing it.
Yeah, that's fine. No, I was looking through the FAA manuals. It's written well. I checked. They popped up in the Australian manuals. It popped up in UK manuals. It popped up in the ICAO radio manuals. But I didn't see anything in the FAA. It's just something that we were used to doing in the UK, and it's just as simple. If you lose your microphone, you've still got a working radio, but you can't modulate. You can't speak into it because the microphone's broken, but you can still flick the transmit switch, but you can't speak on it.
Gotcha.
And then that code is quite complex and well practiced in the UK. So if you do get that microphone failure, you can let everyone know with 4 blips. And then, like I say, it's 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for say again. And if you have an additional emergency, you go da-di-di-da. Which long, short, long, which they then go into another procedure. Oh, do you have another emergency? You go 1 for yes. And then they will ask the category, and, through a answer and question and answer system, they can identify if you need something special. But I was just curious because I obviously went, she's gone 3 for yes. What's that all about?
Yeah. So, that didn't sound unusual at all to me, because I don't remember ever being trained any kind of procedure like, and even, flying overseas, I don't remember. Maybe there's some kind of a thing in an international supplement that covers it. But I don't have that available to me anymore to look through.
On multi-crew aircraft, you don't normally worry about it because, there's spare headsets, and they, 2 pilots, and each of them got a headset, multiple radios. But if you're in a, single seat aircraft or whatever, you've usually only got 1 microphone.
Ah, okay. Interesting. Yeah, when you first asked that question, I thought you meant I thought you were talking about the transponder, like the 7600 code, to let people know that you're, no radio, or NORDO, as we like to say. Yeah. But yeah, the clicking thing, no.
Different procedure.
Okay, so that it kind of confirms what I was going to say, or I did say, regarding the clicking of the microphone transmitter to activate the lighting system at Lufkin, where the other flight did that for them. But the whole time I was thinking to myself, okay, I think it lasts like 15 minutes before it shuts completely off again. I'm thinking I would have asked, hey, can you tell that guy to do the clicks again just to make sure that,
Yes.
because I don't know.
Yeah,
I didn't.
that would have been a good idea. Exactly right. Yeah. Unless can you by accident turn it off by clicking?
No.
Or it just times out?
You can click it and decrease the intensity of the lights, but I don't think you can click it and then make it turn completely off. Pretty sure that's the way it works.
But I guess if he was missing all those external lights, that's why he was really concerned about them closing the runway, right?
Oh yeah, very very good point, Liz. Yeah, they were worried when they were sitting on the runway that someone else might try and land on them. That would have been the end of a perfect evening.
Yeah.
They
made it safely. And no,
Yes.
they're
damn.
Damn. So close.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet that. So it sounds like there was a captain and first officer, and then there were 3 passengers. I bet the passengers probably had their eyes wide open, like going, "What? What is going on here? This doesn't look normal." Anyway, well done job by the crew and running the checklist and getting the thing on the ground. And luckily, the weather wasn't too bad. 4,700 foot ceiling. That's pretty decent weather, even for night flying.
iHall Boxes has a comment.
iHall Boxes says, I thought communicating yes or no was done by blinking in hostile situations. Yeah, but I don't think anybody would. Well, they could do that like, the 2 pilots up front.
Blink in hostile situation.
All right. iHall Boxes has one more thing to add before we move on. In conclusion, phenomenal job. Next.
I thought he written phenom anal.
I had to be careful about the way I pronounced that. Yeah, that's another show completely if we went that direction.
Fair enough. Good job. Yeah, good job, man. And good job on the crew as well for handling that.
And as I mentioned at the very end of that, you could, and that was the first time I'd listened to that. And you could really hear the emotion in both the pilot's voice and also the controller's voice.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It's like one of those things. Sometimes we experience something, and at the moment we're not emotional. But then, as soon as we realize that it's going to come to a satisfactory or a successful conclusion, then all of a sudden our bodies go, "Oh wow, what did you just put me through?" I mean, I've had a few situations where. My body goes, I know my legs aren't going to work now. You're just going to have to sit there in the seat for a while because you can't stand up. You're shaking so much.
I've had the odd flight where right at the end then when all the pressure's off, you suddenly look down, your hands start just gently shaking and you're going, and it's just, I think that release and all that adrenaline that's built up in your body and to keep you absolutely focused on what you're doing. When all of a sudden you don't need that anymore, wow, your body starts kind of reacting and giving way. And you stumble as you try and get out of the flight deck and that kind of thing. Yeah, I've been there.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Got a video coming.
All right, another video, another VAS Aviation video, and and we'll have this in the show notes for those of you driving around and listening to the audio-only podcast. We'll try to describe it as best we can. You can probably understand what's happening with the radio communications here. And then we'll have a nice discussion about it as we finish up. But
sent in by Captain Steve Horn.
Steve Horn. You'll remember how I got there. What's
HIGH? How I got here. Hi.
How I got here. Hi. HIGH. Steve used to send us in those very well-produced audios, and we missed that, Steve. Got to get on that. Anyway, he said, my ears sure perked up at those winds. 270 degrees for runway 36. Yeah, no thank you. Well, you'll see what he's talking about here. That's a direct crosswind, and he didn't give any indication of the velocity of those crosswinds, but we're gonna hear what they were reported by the control tower here very shortly. As soon as I stop yakking and hit the right button. Are we on the stage, Liz?
We are.
Okay, here we go.
Skywest 4177, current wind 280 at 29er, gust 42. I'm assuming you can't go with that? We can go with that. Skywest 4177.
Really?
Can depart that?
I would say no.
We can depart Skywest 4177.
I can't.
4177, Roger. Runway 36 left, taxi via Golf and Charlie. Delta 2886, just want to give you an update. They said your company in front of you said one of the signs up there heading to your left on that service road is blowing pretty hard with the wind and maybe a FOD issue, so just use caution up there.
That's windy.
I appreciate that. We're looking.
That sign might get blown off.
Current wind 270 at 25, gust 42.
Wow.
Be on 4 Romeo Charlie, turn left when able, ground point 900 today.
And somebody just landed.
Point 900. We did have to see about 20 knot loss and short final.
Okay.
20 knot loss, short final, thank you.
That's not good.
Attention aircraft for 36 right, short final, 20 knot loss reported by Phenom.
Ground up 2873.
2873, go ahead.
Hey, for fuel, we're going to have to shut an engine down. Just want to give you a heads up so that when it does come time to move, you can factor us in for a few minutes to warm that up.
Roger.
Hey, ground, good afternoon. Leader 300, signature Alpha ready for taxi.
Leader 300, Austin ground. Current wind 260 at 24, gust 42. Can you depart with that?
Yeah, we can do that. Leader 300.
Yeah, we can do that.
300, Roger. What ramp did you say?
Hold on, Bill.
Signature Aviation.
300, Roger, to be Lima and Bravo. For 36 right.
So, leader 300, runway 36 right.
Southwest 682, we can accept those winds for departure, so we can continue taxi when you're ready.
Okay.
Southwest 682, Roger. Continue via Charlie behind the Delta Embraer.
There's a bunch of cowboys in
Continue
Austin.
36 left via Charlie after the Embraer, Southwest 682.
Okay, I'm just going to pause it for a moment. So far we have, let's see, who's the first one?
2 biz jets.
Yeah. Well, at least one bizjet. The guy coming out out of the signature ramp, and I think another one was a regional jet, and then the Delta, and of all in the and a Southwest, and SkyWest. That's it, SkyWest, and then Southwest, and everybody so far except the Delta said, "Oh yeah, we can do that." You'll notice that the Delta flight is a little bit Delta's ops procedures, standard operating procedures are a little bit more restrictive when it comes to these kind of wind situations. All right, so let's continue.
Leader 300, Austin Tower. Leader 300, Austin Tower. Leader 300, Austin Tower.
Hello. Hello.
Leader 300 Tower.
Leader 300's up on tower, leader.
Leader 300, can you make the left turn on Mike?
Yeah, we can make a left on Mike to leader 300.
Leader 300, taxi via Mike, hold short, runway 36 right.
Mike, hold short of 36 right, leader 300.
Okay, so he's...
Wind 260 at 29, gust 42.
It's basically...
Leader 300, runway 36 right at Mike, line up and wait.
36 right at Mike, line up and wait, leader 300.
a full direct crosswind, basically.
Leader 300, wind 260 at 26, gust 42. Fly heading 040, runway 36 right, clear for takeoff.
Heading 040, 36 right, clear for takeoff, leader 300.
Here we go. What could go wrong?
Southwest 682, Austin Tower, wind 260 at 27, gust 42, runway 36 left, line up and wait.
Line up and wait, 36 left, Southwest 682.
Okay, now the
ground's
airplane's...
at 541, we're going to stop.
Yeah, because...
Delta 541, hold position there.
We see an airplane that's going crazy.
There. Everybody hold position on my ramp. Everybody on taxiway, Southwest, that's you. Stop.
Stop!
Let's do very fast.
Leader 300, stop on the runway.
Southwest 682, hold short, 36 left, the table.
We are just slightly over the line, Southwest 682.
Southwest 682, roger. Just hold position.
All right, holding position, Southwest 682.
I just had a crash on the right side. It's not just the aircraft went squirrely and got into the grass. That's all the problem is right now. So everybody just stand by.
Squirrely?
Leader 300 is boarded takeoff.
Leader 300, roger, we're rolling the trucks.
Yeah, thank you, Liz.
Up 204, but it's the aircraft that is exiting the runway now. They went squirrely and got into the grass.
Do the squirrel again.
They are trying to exit at Julia, it looks like. All right, copy that.
We're moving. We can get off the runway. We think a leader 300.
Leader 300, roger. Turn left when able, and did you need any further assistance?
Yeah, can someone do the takeoff for us?
We don't think so. We're going to go park and check the airplane out, leader 300.
Need a squirrel wrangler.
Do you have any pilots?
Leader 300, roger. The trucks are rolling.
Take over
Contact ground 121. They're going to follow you to
Just
the
some
ramp at a
clean
minimum.
underwear.
All right,
We need some new crosswind limitations.
Command, roger, thank you. Just going to continue out there. It's the second aircraft at Juliet is the one that's the issue. I can move the first aircraft forward if that's okay with you to let him have access off of the runway.
That'll be fine. Go ahead and do that.
FlexJet, continue straight ahead onto Bravo, make the left turn and stop, please.
204, please show 36 right, close to the ground.
Hey, from the 36 right, we're actually showing the entire airport's closed right now due to this.
Copy that.
And leader 300, we are off on Juliet.
Lead Air 300, hold position there. They want to check you out, all the emergency vehicles off your right.
We got him in sight. Yeah, big wind gust there on the roll. Leader 300.
Yeah.
I saw you.
42 knots, like.
Too bad you didn't know about
like
it.
Southwest Aviation, we just had a little incident on 36 right, so the airport's closed for right now. We're just going to get it situated, and then we'll get you going.
Okay, and you're okay with us holding our current position here at short, actually just over the line here for 36 left?
0688, affirmative, airport's closed, so we got no arrivals right now.
Okay, copy, we'll hold our position, Southwest 682.
Airport ops, let me know whenever I can start moving aircraft on the east or the west side of the airport, please.
Copy, officer.
Ground Delta 541, would it be possible to shut down here?
Delta 541, yeah, until they open up the airport again, we're not moving anybody. So go ahead and shut them both down, keep the APU running, and I'll let you know when we can start moving you again.
Emergency aircraft, this is our command. We are at your 12 o'clock. Is there anything you need?
New underwear.
At the moment, I think we're going to go to the ramp and inspect the plane after that wind gust, but everything seems normal on our end.
Copy that. We will follow you into the ramp.
Okay, sounds good to us.
Austin ground, this is our command. We are okay with them moving to the ramp. We'll follow them in.
Our command, roger, thank you. That means I got to start moving aircraft for this. And FlexJet 388, go ahead and continue down Bravo Lima to parking.
Bravo Lima to parking, FlexJet 388.
Elite Air 300, where you need to go.
I guess we're going to go back to signature, Leader 300.
Leader 300,
Yeah, no
roger,
kidding.
proceed, Bravo Lima to signature.
Steph says she'll come in when she feels it's the right time.
Delta 541, start up one engine for me so I can move you down to where you want to go.
Okay, Delta 541, we actually have our engines still on.
Okay, thanks. I'll get you moving as soon as I get those aircraft or all the vehicles out of the way.
All right, Delta 541.
Southwest 3559, if you're ready to continue taxiing.
Continue taxi, Southwest 3559.
South 3559, thank you very much. Continue taxiing via Charlie.
Taxi via Charlie 36 left, Southwest 35.
I was going to say the Delta 541. Yeah, we got so distracted by this whole show that we forgot to turn our engines off.
Yeah. Hey, I didn't see that. Can you do it again? Let's do it again. Yeah.
Yeah. Good show.
That
Good
was
show.
exciting, wasn't it? There are some pictures, weren't there? Of
Yeah, Liz, do you have any pictures that go? You do not?
I didn't. I do not.
Oh, okay. Well, here, let me see if I can scroll back through on the video to see if I think in the Vast Aviation video he had. Let me see if I can get right to the exact. No, that's not it. It's toward the beginning here. Okay, they're clear for takeoff.
It's when he went squirrely.
Yeah, I'm looking. Yeah, we definitely saw the squirrel a few times with the squirrely winds. Okay, there. That's probably the one. Let me see if I can remove this out of the way so we can see it. Yeah, where he's starting to kind of tip a little bit to the left. Look at that windsock in the background. You see that? That's probably, I think that's probably a 15 knot windsock. So of course it's straight, sticking straight out.
Has he got his spoilers up already? Is he rejected at that point, do you think?
He must have been rejected at that point because I see both sides, the spoilers are up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've seen one where his wingtip looks like it's dragging along the ground.
Okay, let me see if I can. That one? Yeah. That looks like.
That's pretty dramatic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would imagine looks like awfully close to actually hitting the wingtip.
Squirrely.
Yeah, definitely squirrely. But it actually did leave I don't know if the entire jet left the runway surface, but it was definitely out there on the grass to the left of the runway.
Where all the squirrels live.
Where the winds were coming from that direction. But of course, what happens is that the airplane attempts to, what we call it.
Can I remove the video now?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, sure.
I can put it back.
Oh, yeah, just leave it there because then we can kind of look at this this airplane almost possibly scraping the left wingtip there. But what do we call it when we wind
we
vane?
call it weathercocking.
Weathercocking or wind.
That's what
I
we
want to
call
say
it.
wind vane, but that's not right. Weather vane, vaning. Shoot, I've forgotten the actual term. But the airplane just wants to naturally. So if the winds if they're pointed to the north and the winds are coming out of the west, and you have a 42 knot gust from the west, and a steady of 20, I think they said 29 was the last thing that he stated when they gave him clearance for takeoff. The nose of the airplane wants to point weather vane, wants to point into the wind. So the nose is wanting to kind of point to the left, and that's going to, if you're not counteracting that with your control surfaces and steering capability and rudder, and you're not using your ailerons as best you can to keep the wings from banking because of the wind conditions. The airplane's going to go in that direction. Actually, it's kind of almost counterintuitive, really. Wait, if the winds are blowing from left or right, why would the airplane want to go to the left? Well, it's because it wants to point into the wind. So that's one.
Yes, that great big vertical tail surface is going to get affected by the wind and yaw the aircraft into wind, basically.
Ant in our chat says, is that a fireable offense for the FO? Knew about the wind and hubris kicked in, lives were in danger.
It might be for the captain.
I was going to say, I don't think the FO it has anything to do with it. It would be the captain for sure. But this leads to a discussion about, wind limits and wind guidelines. And it's my understanding, I don't know how it is over in Europe or for your airline in particular, Captain Nick, and I know we've had this discussion in the past, but at Delta, at least when I was flying there, that these demonstrated crosswind limits, so when they're certifying an airplane, they'll try to get into conditions or situations where the winds are, strong crosswinds or whatever, so they can demonstrate, what this airplane's capable of doing. And so when they're out there, doing that, they have the data available, but it could be that the strongest wind that they encountered is, let's say, 35 knots of a direct crosswind. And if they don't get anything more than that, then basically they say, well, the demonstrated crosswind limit is 35, but it could be higher. It's just that we never got to a point where it got to that high. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that some airlines just use that as a guideline, and they let their commanders, their captains, kind of use their discretion whether or not they want to take off or land in a certain situation based on the amount of wind that's blowing out there. But Delta's always been and as I mentioned before, that Delta Flight 541, I mean, he wasn't even toying with the idea of taking off with those wind conditions. He said, nope, that's okay. We're probably going to shut down here. We're going to wait, and are we in the way of anybody? Because we know that we're probably the only ones that are going to pass on taking off with these windy conditions. And it's because that these demonstrated crosswind limits that when the airplane's certified become actual real limits for our operations at Delta. So for some companies, they're just guidelines, and your discretion if you want to try to operate in those situations above whatever the demonstrated crosswind limitation is. But for us, those were hard limitations. And then I think maybe also, Captain Nick, some people will only use the steady state of the wind and not the gust factor. So, a direct cross of 29 knots, but a gust to 42, well, they can ignore the gust to 42 and they can just use the 29. And if that falls within the maximum crosswind limit, then they can go ahead and attempt to take off if they, using their discretion. Ludger says his outfit max crosswind is a hard limit. Okay. Yeah. So that's very much like the company that I used to fly for.
What was it at Virgin there?
Virgin.
Yeah,
what was
we would do more or less the same, even though I'm just looking at my, I pinched an old QRH from the 340.
Do they know you still have that, sir?
Yeah, well, it's out of date, and they
do now.
The airplane's been sold, so
I guess it doesn't really matter.
Exactly. We didn't give it to the new owners. So this says takeoff and landing max demonstrated 27 knots plus gust 33. So it is a max demonstrated, but I personally, and the company, I think, treated it as a hard limit, and it's for me, it's a bit like. Are you going to down a bottle of whiskey 12 hours before flying? Or, it says drink in moderation 24 hours before, no drink 12 hours. That was our rules. There are lots of things which you could push the limits on. And I always had to ask myself, why are you doing this? You've got a 25-year career in this airline. You really want to throw your job away that easily? So, this is, I don't know quite what the pressure is on a crew to try and take off when the wind is possibly, I don't know what the wind limits are on this aircraft, whether they were on the wind limit or
I don't know.
A little bit beyond, a little bit just under. But, I would go, I really don't want to lose my job today, so I'm going to let it calm down a bit before I take off. I personally would never have tried to do that. Landing might be slightly different because, I remember landing in a typhoon into Shanghai.
Yeah, I remember that story.
And I nearly dinked the wingtip. Yeah, I nearly dinked the wingtip into the runway or scraped a pod down the runway. But I was faced with a diversion to an airfield that was not going to be an awful lot better. Because the wind was affecting, all that area, and we didn't have tons of fuel to mess about. So, it was a whole saga. But the fact is that we got it down all right. It was a bit of a nasty landing, but we did make it all right. We didn't go off the runway or anything silly, and there was no grass in the runway, so we got away with it. But I did it once in a 25-year career, that sort of thing. So,
but that's a completely different situation. In that situation, you're in the air, you're burning fuel, you're running out of options. Whereas if you're on the ground and you haven't initiated the flight yet, why? But I understand, exactly right. But I can understand it because I think pilots kind of tend to be mission oriented, and sometimes you kind of get in this mode. Like, I got to accomplish the mission. I have to accomplish that. I have to do this. Although, what is helpful sometimes is when you hear other flights out there saying, we'll pass. We'll go ahead and wait. That kind of helps that mission accomplishment itis thing going on. Like, they're not going to go. So maybe we should think about maybe waiting, for the winds to die down.
And I think this is where a strong FO helps, because if they show, I don't know, that's really close to our limits, or actually that's over our limits. Do you really want to do this? You can be talked down from trying to make a stupid mistake by a good FO at times.
Yep. I agree. And as Marin so clearly states, I think they demonstrated it. Yes, they
Yes, they did.
that was the
We
wind
know
limitation.
exactly what the limits are for that aeroplane.
They demonstrated. You don't want to do 42 knots. Tim Van Ram says,
I mean, there were some airports where if they knew what your crosswind limit was, they would tell you what the wind was, and it would be exactly on your crosswind limits. And they're not actually helping at all because you know very well. I mean, when I was going to Shanghai, the wind they gave me was on my crosswind limits, but the ATIS for the preceding 2 hours, and they've been giving regular ATIS about every
way
20
over the
minutes.
limits, probably.
It was way over limits.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I magically pitch up. And actually our manual did say the wind you took was the tower wind. That was the wind that you had to obey. So, I was going, really? It's all of a sudden it's dropped a bit?
Yeah.
Apparently, yeah.
That
but they're
reminds me-
Chinese, so you can't discuss it with them.
That reminds me when I was doing my training for the C-141B Starlifter out in Altus, Oklahoma. I don't know if any of you out there have flown in the great state of Oklahoma, especially
Where the
western
wind comes
Oklahoma.
sweeping down the plane?
It gets, where the winds are blowing down the plane. What is it?
Winds come sweeping down
The
the plane.
winds come sweeping down the plane.
When the wind comes sweeping down the plane.
And then sweeping over the planes, the PLANES. So we would go to another, I can't remember the name of it offhand, but it was a very small, I guess it used to be like an Army Air Corps field, but it was not at Altus Air Force Base. It was to the north, kind of heading up toward Oklahoma City way. And we would do our touch and goes and other, we'd practice landings and such up there. And it was like our checkout or check ride for my partner and I. And the instructor goes, okay, so we're coming in and we're listening to the ATIS winds and we're going, yeah, they're like way out of limits. And then he talked to the tower. And at first he said, hey, what do you guys think? Do you think if we get this thing within limits that you guys can, go ahead and attempt a landing? And we kind of looked at each other and went, yeah, I guess. And then he says, tower, say again the winds. And I guess that was the cue for the controller to say, winds are, and just as you stated, Captain Nick, they were exactly the limits for the C-141. And so we were able to legally, quote, air quotes, do our touch and goes and complete our check ride. And we didn't ding any wingtips or, bend any metal or
You didn't go
anything
squirrely.
else. Didn't go squirrely, no. But it was pretty squirrely, that's for sure. It was an interesting situation. But I thought the same thing. Well, how is it that all of a sudden they're magically within the limits? That's weird.
You were a naive young pilot.
Yeah, I was a naive young man, wasn't I?
Okay, let's bring
anyway.
that Steffi in
Yeah,
now.
well, there's Steph. She's in our green room, and I think
Having
it's
a beer.
time for her to
In fact,
make
she's had
herself
several
present.
now, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the beers at, it is almost 6 o'clock, but no,
Yeah.
I have not.
It's beer o'clock.
Emptied the green
No, I was
room
just-
fridge.
I had not gotten myself up to speed on that particular incident that you all were discussing when I
No, we're
showed
not.
up. So I
We're
figured
not
I'd
up
just
to
wait
speed on anything.
until discussion was completed and we move on to the next one.
Yeah.
So,
Well, hello. How are you?
hello, I'm good. How are y'all?
Fine, thank
Sorry,
you.
Traffic is
Good to see you.
not good this time of night always. So, yeah.
No. Called
I'm
rush
Guys,
hour.
you're
Made it.
about 10 minutes away from the hour
No,
and a
there was no
half mark.
rushing actually happening as far as I could tell.
No rushing at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're about 10 minutes from the hour and a half. Let's see.
I added one at the end here just as a funny one. I don't know.
Oh.
You haven't seen it before, but I thought maybe you'd like to just do it.
Well, I
end on
haven't
a
seen
funny
most of
one.
them actually.
No.
Unruly passenger.
Yeah.
Okay.
He swallowed
I
his
always
rosary.
like a good unruly passenger story.
Okay. Shall we
Oh,
end
this
with?
is a good.
let's
This was a
see.
good one.
Let's look through this just to make sure there isn't anything that would be critical for us to cover on today's episode. Is there anything?
I don't think so, particularly.
No,
No.
I don't
I
think so
we
either.
Get some getting to know us and some
Yeah.
feedback. in.
Okay. I think you're right, Liz. You're always right. Let's end the news segment. Oh, was that recorded somewhere? Yeah, it was. Dang it.
Yeah.
Let's end the news segment with this from New York Times. Okay. A passenger swallows rosary beads on chaotic flight to Miami. The man also kicked a flight attendant. An arrest affidavit said he and his sister said they were traveling to Haiti to escape religious attacks of a spiritual nature. What does that mean?
Ooh, wow.
I want to know what kind of religious attacks are not spiritual.
I don't know. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Let's see, March 12, 2025. So like yesterday? Okay.
Yeah.
A satanic disciple, had stowed away on a flight to Florida as one passenger saw it. And something had to be done. Well, I guess they weren't doing the right thing with the rosary. They were doing awful things to the rosary beads because
you're not supposed to swallow
if you're
it.
satanic, I'm pretty sure the satanic people don't use rosary beads in a good way. Less than a minute after an American Airlines flight took off from Savannah, Georgia, for Miami on Monday night. That was just earlier this week. A passenger began yelling and shaking. Flight attendants initially thought he was having a seizure. But it turned out he was struggling because he believed a demonic spirit had invaded the cabin, and at some point during the flight began swallowing rosary beads to ward that spirit off. Oh, so he was actually trying to use them in a good way. He was to ward off the evil spirits. Okay. As attendants approached the man, Delange Augustin, 31 years old, he kicked one of them in the chest so hard that the attendant stumbled across the aisle and into a window on the other side of the plane, according to an arrest affidavit. That's when the cabin crew realized that Mr. Augustin, who was traveling with his sister, was not having a medical emergency. Augustin's choices appeared purposeful, though difficult to describe, Savannah Solomon, a special agent with the FBI, wrote in the affidavit filed in the U.S. District Court in Chatham County. The pilots turned the plane around when they heard the commotion and landed it safely in Savannah. But that was not the end of the episode. Disembarkation from the jet spiraled into chaos when Mr. Augustin stormed to the front of the plane and threw several wild punches at a flight attendant before the door had been opened. Several passengers helped to wrestle him and his sister to the ground. Then the authorities learned that Mr. Augustin had swallowed the rosary beads, so he was taken to a hospital where he was evaluated and discharged to a county detention center. His medical condition was not immediately clear as of Tuesday night. In the detention center, Mr. Augustin's sister told the authorities that he had been traveling to Haiti to flee religious attacks of a spiritual nature. Mr. Augustin had told his sister to close her eyes and pray because Satan's disciples had followed them onto the plane and the Legion did not want the Augustins to make it to Haiti. He swallowed the rosary beads because they are a weapon of strength in spiritual warfare. Only about 8 passengers were on the plane. Oh, that's good.
Thank goodness.
No one was seriously injured. We appreciate the professionalism of the entire crew and thank our passengers for their understanding, American Airlines said in a statement on Tuesday night. Envoy Air, which operated the flight, did not immediately respond to an email seeking comment. Mr. Augustin was booked into jail on a misdemeanor battery charge, a misdemeanor obstruction of law enforcement charge, and a felony count of criminal property damage, according to the jail's records.
He's in trouble.
Yeah.
So Marin thinks they were on the wrong airline. They should have been flying Spirit Air.
Well, that's true. If they were on Spirit.
Well, that might have helped. I'm curious to know why they were going to Haiti. Isn't that where they practice voodoo?
Yeah. They got all kinds of evil spirits down that way.
Yeah, I mean, that's... You
like
want to avoid evil spirits, go somewhere like the Vatican.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, as Man Micah says, them's voodoo is a powerful thing.
One last comment from
Okay,
Micah.
one last comment from Man Micah. Is a misdemeanor battery more powerful than a lithium-ion battery? I don't know. Could be.
It's cheaper to recharge.
With the lithium-ion is, maybe.
No, the misdemeanor battery. I mean, that's cheap as chips. All you could do is attack somebody.
Okay.
Well, it sounds like it was a wild one.
Very interesting. Now, of course, I'm looking at this article, and the photo, of course, shows an American mainline
It was
jet.
an Embraer 175.
Yeah. That.
Ed has a good comment too.
So a little smaller inside, which explains a little bit better.
Yeah, that's kind of like that's the same effect that I have with my RVS. On the outside, it looks kind of small, but look on the inside; it's huge in here.
Quite roomy.
It's very roomy. And Cope says a quaalude shaped like a rosary bead.
Yeah, that's what they needed.
It was a bunch of quaaludes on a string.
All right, let's get to know you.
All right, time to get to know us. Here we go.
It is.
Getting to know us, the time of the show where we get to know what we've been up to since episodes. And let's see, Dr. Steph, were you with us last time? I don't think you were.
I was not. I was hoping to be.
Yeah.
Nothing terribly exciting. Ended up just having a lot of family stuff going on last weekend.
Well, that's right.
I probably mentioned it that my youngest brother has been living in town nearby for a number of months now. It was always meant to be a short-term thing, and I thought he was going to leave closer to the beginning of this year to go back home, which is the Salt Lake City area for him. He stayed a little bit longer, but then decided this past Saturday was the day he was leaving. So it was, not a terribly sudden decision, but just the date that he was going was not decided upon until rather last minute. So then it was trying to make sure he could get all packed up and safely on the road and have everything that he needed to get set up in a new apartment out there. So
you're such a good big sis.
Well, he did all the hard work on that. I was just there for
moral support,
making sure all the little details were not forgotten. So, but yeah, so sad to see him go because I was getting quite used to having him around to have as a running and swimming buddy, especially in the mornings at the gym and stuff. So I'm gonna have to have my own willpower, that accountability to get out of bed and make it. But I don't know.
You're pretty good with the willpower thing, but it is nice to have some accountability.
It's always nice to have someone else there.
Yeah.
So, that was the big thing. I don't think I mentioned on previous show. I'm not sure maybe I did.
Well,
had a meetup briefly with Tanya in Charlotte.
Oh no, you didn't.
That last time. Yeah, she was in town actually for another podcast. We won't hold that against her or anything, though. I know. Well, we weren't doing anything in Charlotte. They were. So, but she was nice enough to reach out and said, "Hey, it's a Friday night. It's kind of late. Understand if you're busy, tired, whatever." I said, "I don't actually have anything going on, really." So. Met up with Tanya and, had a nice chat at the bar at her hotel in Uptown Charlotte. And it was really nice to see her. So she's always a pleasure to hang out with. Sorry, we did not record any audio. I think we had a photo. I didn't share it here. I'm sorry. I forgot. But I have it if you want it for the show notes later.
Yeah,
or the
send it in
chapters
and
we can put that in the show notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what else? I think that's it.
Liz was telling me that I think we thought we had talked about your ski trip, but actually,
we actually did not. Yeah, we realized after the fact that we talked about it, but we didn't talk about it on the show.
Texting messaging group on the crew, and sometimes we kind of conflate that with us talking about all the stuff on the show. And after we finished recording, we went,
confused.
I don't think we did actually talk about that on the show.
No.
And why does not everybody know what we were doing in our private messaging group? Come on.
I mean, obviously we referenced it amongst ourselves multiple times. Everybody should just know. Let me back up a little bit. So I had, the yearly, they happen more than once a year, but the main conference that I like to go to in February in the winter,
in the mountains,
usually is held in Utah. Usually I can combine that with some family get-togethers and things like that. But this year was moved to the Tahoe area, which kind of interesting. I've never actually spent any time at any of the Tahoe ski resorts or in that area. I've been to Reno a bunch of times, but mostly to the Circus as a stopover point between Salt Lake City and the Sacramento area back when I was in like middle school and high school, we used to go to swim meets there, and to break up the drive, which is actually quite long.
Like the Bailey and Barnum Brothers Circus?
Circus, the hotel.
Oh, the hotel and casino.
And casino, yeah.
Yes.
But that one that you can actually take, people who are not 21 yet too, because they have all kinds of midway games and, buffet stuff. So I was pleased to see the Circus is still alive and well in Reno, Nevada, right off the highway. Nothing to do with the actual conference. The conference itself was good as always. I love that they split it up so it's morning and evening, so we can get our continuing education credits done from like 7 a.m. until about 10 a.m. and then about 4 to 7 in the evening, and then you can walk right out the door of the hotel to the resort that we're staying at and go skiing. So
nice.
I didn't do a ton of skiing, still rehabbing from knee stuff. Wasn't probably officially supposed to be skiing, but things have felt good enough, and I kind of talked it over with my my physical therapist, and we decided just to take it easy.
You only need one leg to ski, don't you?
Some people.
I guess, yeah. I just the whole time I was skiing, I was like, don't do anything that's going to land you back in your orthopedist's office. They won't be impressed by your choices. So
it's all about choices, though, isn't it?
All of life.
Did you have a lot of snow?
We got a lot of snow while I was there. I'll say that. I got there on Wednesday, nice sunny day. And then the forecast was anywhere from 30 to 50 inches of snow Thursday, Friday.
That's a lot.
Yeah. I want to say at the base of the resort, like where the hotel was, I think we got not quite 20 inches. But then as you would go, up in elevation, I think some of the higher levels did actually get those totals. And man, that is, I hear they call it Sierra Cement, because it is the heaviest, like wettest snow I've ever seen. It's so moisture laden. We went out skiing in it on Thursday, and just sitting on the chairlift, the time it would take to go from the bottom of the lift to the top, you'd end up with like half an inch of snow on you, and it was just soggy and wet. Like fortunately it was not very cold that day. Got back to the hotel, and like everything just had to go in the dryer because it was like we had been out in the rain instead of in the snow. It almost looked like we had like fallen down and like rolled around in it, but we were just standing or sitting in it.
Yeah.
Decided we wanted one more go at it, so I pushed my flight back on Saturday so that I could go one more time. I wasn't planning on it, but it was beautiful. Not terribly sunny day, a little high overcast, but I was really hoping to see the kind of views of the lake that the area is known for. So we got up early, got out on the slopes, and had some really nice snow that day. It got a little bit cooler, so that it wasn't quite as moisture rich in the snow content.
So that really affects the way that you kind of ski and cut. And all that
I am not used to that. I'm very spoiled with my Utah upbringing with the very dry, fluffy powder. You can't even pack that stuff into a snowball. It just like flakes apart in your hand. There would have been no problem making snowballs, snowmen, snowwomen with the snow. And it was a lot of work to kind of push through it and make nice carving turns and not get my ski tip caught up in it. So my ski would go one way and my knee would go another way. And that would be bad.
That's not good.
But it was a good workout.
Were you able to get actually on the lake, like in a boat or anything like that?
Oh, no. Yeah, we actually weren't that close to the lake.
Oh, okay.
We stayed it's called Palisades now. Yeah, you can see the lake from the resort, especially at higher altitudes, but it's not that close to the lake itself.
Yeah, it's like crystal clear water.
Yeah, it would have been difficult to actually get to the lake on Thursday and Friday
because of all the
just
snow.
With the amount of snow.
Yeah.
I should have had those pictures for you guys to look at, because I have a picture. I should have taken a before picture of my rental car, and then I spent about an hour digging it out, and it still looks like it's just covered in snow.
There was a lot of snow on it. I remember that picture.
Oh, it was. Yeah. It looked impressive. Didn't you manage to rent a Jeep? I mean, what was that car like in the snow?
Oh, I rented it was a Volkswagen Atlas, actually.
Oh, nice.
That's what I had. They did not have any Jeeps available when I went to rent cars, which was a bummer. But it was... I
mean, I can understand them not having any pink Jeeps available, but none at all?
None at all at the Reno airport at any of the rental car companies that I would rent from normally. So,
Well,
but,
Neil
you know what?
in
It was
our
a nice car.
live chat says these conferences are such hard work.
Well, normally I have to, the past couple of years I've given a presentation, and they did not ask me to this year. Not sure if they did not appreciate my presenting in the past.
The feedback wasn't good.
Felt like they should take a break. I'm not worried about it at all. It's actually really nice to show up and just be a passive participant more so than having to worry about getting my lecture in on time and stressing about whether I have everything that it needs in it and trying to update it last minute. And yeah, it's good, but I don't need that every year.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
Very
that was good. And then I don't think there's anything else that I've neglected to share with the community.
All right. Captain Nick, how have you been, sir? Have you been doing any, I don't know, like
I haven't been singing,
lectures
that's
or
for sure.
No singing?
No singing. I
Okay.
shouted a bit, but I mentioned it last week. I had a talk. I've done a new lecture on the tornado, and so the Hawker Association, those fine old gentlemen there that used to belong to Hawkers, who built so many fine aircraft over the years, originally the same company as Sopwith. So that, they claim their heritage goes back to, the First World War and the Sopwith Camel and all those fantastic, lovely old aeroplanes. Anyway, I was there and talked to them about the MRCA, the multi-role combat aeroplane, or as I prefer to call it, Mother Riley's cardboard aeroplane. And I think rather than talk about it, there's a little bit of video we might put up.
Yeah, here we go.
Well, I'm just touting for the Airline Pilot Guy podcast.
Yay.
And the more we get to listen, the greater it becomes. Although we've been #1 in aviation podcasts for quite a while.
Woohoo!
As you probably realise, this subject today is about the MRCA, which you probably know as the multi-role.
There you go, someone already knew.
There's a better name for it. Must refurbish Canberra again. Oh yeah, well that's very good. I like that. I'll try to remember that. So let's talk first of all about the generation of aircraft that would dominate my Air Force career. Now, my first year.
So that enough?
That's probably enough.
Okay.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. I didn't fly that thing. I like that.
Sorry.
Someone came up with much refurbished Canberra again. So Canberra was a really old airplane. In fact, we sold it to you guys, the B-57, I think.
Oh,
you
yeah.
called it
That was
when
an
you
odd
built it
looking.
under license.
That was an odd looking
Yeah,
airplane.
it was sort of right back at I think it was our third sort of military jet bomber that we built. So anyway, it was the first really big one. Actually very successful airplane. We sold it all over the world. But anyway, that was fun and seemed to go down all right. In fact, I got a nice bottle of wine, so thanks, gents. And I'm giving it again next week to that lovely bunch of people from the Royal Aeronautical Association who meet at Brooklands Museum. You know, that place that we've all been to.
Yeah.
And it's
You're
sort of
giving
one
them
of
the
my
bottle
favorite
of wine? Is that what you're giving them? What?
No, I was given a bottle of wine, and thanks.
Yes. Oh, I see. You're giving the lecture to the people at Brooklands. Okay.
Yes, exactly right.
Sorry,
Yes.
misunderstood.
Yeah.
No, yes, indeed. I might take my bottle of wine down, give me something to drink, but no, they're
Empty
very
one.
generous down there.
Could you please refill it, please?
They actually, use the sort of facilities that the museum have to entertain, and they put a meal on, and there's a bar, and they all sit around having a nice meal while I give a talk. So I think that's rather nice. And of course, you're right in the middle of the museum, so you have a quick wander through the exhibits if you want. So I'm
Aren't you
looking
going to
forward
see
that.
Rob and the kids too, Nick?
And yep, I'm going to see We Love Captain Jeff.
We love you, Captain Jeff.
Yay.
the lovely listener, Rob Simmons, who is the headmaster of
love Rob.
School, and he runs an aviation club for the kids in his school. And so once every year or two, I get invited down to go and give them a talk. And this year they've asked for a talk about which is the best path to go and fly for the military or go and fly for civil. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And actually, I'm learning a little bit about the latest requirements to become an airline pilot in the UK. And in my old day, it was 6 O-levels and 2 A-levels were the minimum requirements to get a license and get a job. Nowadays, it seems to be they don't actually specify a number. So, you know.
The caliber is just not as it used to be, huh?
Well, everyone goes to university now anyway. So, so I'm looking forward to seeing Rob again and his youngsters. And then there's the cover art, which I didn't have to do anything last week, or nearly nothing. Because Texas and LeShock sent us
Texas Charlie.
Texas Charlie.
Oh, it was Texas Charlie. Sorry. Yep. Oh, my God, I've written to the wrong person.
Texas and LeShock is wondering what's going on.
He received an email from Nick thanking him for the art.
He's like,
I guess he's been hitting the bottle a little bit too hard again.
Didn't you use that email that I sent you?
Yeah, I did, but I addressed it to... I said, hi there.
It gets so confusing for Nick. I mean, you know,
there's all these,
Arkansas and Texas, and it's just.
I'm going to have to look through the messages you gave me, Liz, because
I'll send it to you again.
Yeah, Texas
no,
Charlie
don't worry. I've already said, but I haven't had a message back. He's probably too offended. So my apologies for
He thinks you're
sending
going
that.
senile.
Right. Anyway, it was great cover art. It was a picture of rootin' tootin' Captain Jeff with his cowboy hat in his Mad Dog with a brace of 6 guns, you know, revolvers. Yeah, woohoo. I had to expand it slightly to make it the right format for us.
That's
but
what
that
she
was
said.
okay. That worked. And we gave the title The Mad Dog Cowboy. And that was all great. And I just had to now mention perhaps the logo and the show numbers.
Yeah.
Did you find them all right, Liz?
Yeah.
Yeah, Liz
Right
found
there
them.
in the
So
the logo
the shirt
on
buttons,
the wings. Yeah.
the shirt buttons are the 6 and the 3, but there's a 5 in there somewhere.
Oh, and the knot of the tie.
Yeah, on the knot of the tie, quite right. And just right, the show logo is embedded in the wing.
You made it easy for us this week. Or this
I did
last
indeed.
time. Yeah.
Wow,
easy. He got the art, and then he made it easy for us. So
yes, exactly.
Very
So that was fun. Thank you very much indeed for all that.
Sorry.
Liz is going all crazy with the different views.
I hit the wrong button that no producer is supposed to hit.
She hit the button that no producer should ever push.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, Jeffrey.
Right.
Well, Jeff, you, sir.
Oh, do I reveal anything yet, Liz, or do I have to wait till next week?
Entirely up to you.
Okay. Well, I mentioned that I've been kind of busy recently. So I guess how far do I go back here? I don't know for those of you who are new listeners, and this is not actually the RVS, the Road Vessel Studio that I'm in. I'm in a hotel right now. But I started doing full-time RV living back in June 15th, Father's Day weekend, last year. And, over the winter, it was a little bit of a challenge for me, especially because if I'd stayed south in areas of the country that stayed, the temperature stayed above freezing, it would have been, one thing, but because of my obligations that I thought I was just going to disregard and just live my life of travel. I didn't realize how much my involvement in various activities here in the Atlanta area meant to me. And I guess it was revealed to me that I'm much more of a homebody than I thought. And I missed everybody at my church and singing and all the other things that I like, all the restaurants I like going to, and people know who I am and I know them. And it's kind of, I missed that. And then the other aspect of the full-time RV life is that if you're going to be up here where the weather gets a little chilly at times in the wintertime, my first winter of full-time RVing, I realized that there are times when I have to winterize the vehicle. In other words, clear out all the water and basically deactivate my shower and my toilet and all those niceties, my plumbing. Not my plumbing. My plumbing is still working, but I did have to deactivate that.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning it, though. Yeah, so which meant that, and as you've probably, if you've been following along recently, sometimes you see me in hotels and sometimes you see me in the RVS. And
plus, you had to keep finding campgrounds, and not a lot of them are open. And
right, this time of year also, it gets a little bit more difficult to find campgrounds that are open year round because, again, as you get a little bit farther north in North America, there are seasons and off season, and when it gets cold, not heck of a lot of people like to go camping, and I can hardly blame them actually. But there are only a handful of campgrounds that are open year round, and then these campgrounds are great campgrounds, but they are usually government run, Army Corps of Engineer campgrounds, and a lot of county parks and state parks and that kind of thing. They're all government related, and they have a strict limit of, like a maximum amount of nights or days that you can stay in the campground per 30-day period. So, Liz was very helpful for me. I asked her if she could come up with a spreadsheet for me so that I could kind of keep track of the different places I've been staying. And so, if it's most of these are like 14 days maximum out of 30 days. So the spreadsheet's very helpful to me because I can go and kind of look back 30 days and see if I can still stay at this campground for a little. So in other words, I'm like bebopping all over the place between campgrounds and trying to figure out, ahead of time where I'm going to be staying. And that just started to become a little bit of a hassle. So I thought, maybe I could shift from a full-time RV life to a part-time or a hybrid kind of a lifestyle. So I'm not getting rid of my RV. It's still my daily driver, and it allows me to take trips every now and then, like head up to Oshkosh and various places during the year. So that's going to be I ended up leasing an apartment at an apartment complex, the same one that I was staying in before I went full-timing in the RV, because I really like it. Because
they could accommodate the RV, right?
And they can also, the RV is about 25 feet long, so it's not huge, but it's bigger, longer than a normal standard car parking space. And it's kind of on the tall side, 10.5 feet tall. So I knew that the complex that I was staying at prior to going full-timing, there was a place in the visitors parking where I could kind of park the thing and it wasn't sticking out. It was kind of overhanging in the back. And anyway, I knew that they could accommodate my recreational vehicle there. And I just like the people there and the
location.
Yeah, at the location and the management and that kind of thing. And it's also pretty close by the Chattahoochee Nature Center trail system that I like to use and go on hikes and kind of, keep in shape, or as best I can. I just decided to get a place back at that apartment complex. A little bit, not the same location, but anyway. And I actually thought today I would be recording the show in my new place. However, there was a little hiccup there, and ended up having to move to a different unit. And so I'm actually officially moving in tomorrow. So next week, I'm hoping you'll see me in my new to me apartment, and ended up having to switch from a 1-bedroom to a 2-bedroom because of some issues, and it's not really that interesting. But the nice thing about that is that I can kind of keep a full-time setup for doing the show, so that'll be kind of nice where I don't have to completely, set up and break down every show. So that's what has been occupying a lot of my time in the last few weeks. But so it'll be the APG headquarters building once again, and then at times going out in the RVS for doing some on-location recording. And so I'm looking forward to doing the hybrid thing for a while. Maybe after a year of doing this, I may say, yeah, I want to get back out there again and do the full-time thing again. Who knows? So that is really, and then, just doing my normal singing. I sang at a funeral earlier today, and no, it was not my funeral. And the normal singing at the Mahzuz on the weekend. And also, that's about it for me.
Cool.
Pretty boring life, actually, but I like it that way.
So, do you want to just show the
nothing wrong with
coffee?
boring.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to just show the coffee fund slide and just talk about?
Yeah, we can do that. We can talk about the coffee fund if folks are interested in supporting us financially.
Johnny, how much more coffee?
No thanks.
I love coffee. I love tea. I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup.
Oh yeah, the coffee fund. As I said, your way to support us financially if you have the resources to do so. And you can join the Coffee Bar Club, and a couple of different ways to do that. One is the Coffee Fund Classic method, which is a PayPal donation thing. Most people use it for every once in a while giving us some expression of gratitude, but the others use it as a recurring donation vehicle, and we appreciate everybody that does that. And the other way is to become a patron of the show via Patreon, and we don't have any new patrons for this week, nor do we have any contributions to the Coffee Fund Classic method. And that's fine, because this whole thing is free. Oh, there's the sad puppy. Oh, you don't want a sad puppy. You want to make him happy, right? So send some money. Just kidding. Now, we do this out of a labor of love. And we just like getting together and talking aviation mostly with friends and sharing it with our outstanding, wonderful community. So if you're interested in joining the Coffee Bar Club, please head over to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee.
Captain, incoming message.
All right, let's start off with this feedback from Roberta, living in BC, Canada. Let's see. Hi, Jeff, Steph, Nick, Liz, and today's co-host team. Today is one of my most fun days of listening to APG archives. I'm listening to episode 152 from January 2015. Now, I don't know... does that ring any bells?
Should I know that?
Yes, you should.
Number.
Here we go.
A tattoo of it on her arm.
Yeah. Liz says you should have a tattoo of it on your arm.
It's for some reason it's like the hardest number for me to read.
Just think of a Cessna 150, 152.
152. Yeah. I know, right? Like that should be easy, but for some reason
it was so traumatic. She's blocked it out.
Yeah, well, you're trying to get rid of that memory.
No, yeah. My brain holds on to the strangest things, and then the stuff that's like actually important sometimes. Like
I understand. I get it. It wasn't until very recently that I could remember the exact episode number myself. But after looking it up for a few times, I thought to myself, you should probably remember that so you don't have to.
I really need to see it in writing a couple times, so this helps.
Roberta says, as context, I'm a longtime listener and have already listened back as far as episode 350. When I was done with that, I recently went back to APG episode 1. She said that she sent her last feedback after episode 128.
She needs some go around a cylind.
Yeah, you do need some go around a cylind for sure. Leading up to today, Jeff, you have already met Steph twice. Rick in Miami has given lots of feedback. Hillel has made appearances. And of course, there was Tony. She said, I laugh so hard knowing the future. That was the first time that Dana joined me on a one-off. That was long before.
Episode 90, right? I don't know why I can remember that one.
Yep, it was episode 90. Yeah, that's an easier number, I think.
I don't know.
Yeah, episode 90, and that was before I ever entertained the idea that this would ever become anything other than a solo endeavor. So yeah, it was a big mistake. When Captain Jeff said he was in Charlotte, my heart skipped a beat. I just knew this was a pivotal episode, but what was going to happen? Was Jeff going to tell us about a meetup with Steph afterwards, or still upcoming? Or was he going to say he tried to meet up, but she was away? Yeah, she always comes up with some kind of excuse why she can't meet with me. And then, or might he possibly announce Dr. Steph as an official co-host? Well, it was none of those, but also a combination. And I heard Dr. Steph's voice. For those who might also be enjoying watching history unfold too, I won't spoil it by saying too much. It seems funny to worry about spoilers for a 10-year-old episode, but there you go. Not to let a feedback opportunity go to waste, I'll ask you about this recent flight I was on. Let's see, a recent flight. I was on Flight Radar 24. 2 screenshots attached. Okay, this Air France flight, an Airbus A350 flying from Charles de Gaulle to Atlanta, squawked 7,700 just past Ireland. You know, most people do that just as a precaution. I thought it was turning around to return to Paris or land in the UK, but neither happened. Instead, it circled for a long time, then continued on to North America. Eventually, it showed that it was diverting to Detroit. This was another mystery to me. Hang on a second, I got a cough.
He's all choked up about Steph.
Yeah, I'm all choked up. This was another mystery to me. If the emergency was resolved, at least to allow them to continue over the Atlantic, why would they land at Detroit? If Atlanta was too far, then why not Boston or Gander? Just curious on the various possibilities here. Many thanks. Can't wait for episode 200. Okay. What are we on now? 654? Yeah.
But episode 200 is a good one.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
that was one of our. That's one of our special episodes.
Pivotal episodes.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Much more so than 152. I think.
I don't know. Depends on your perspective, I think. She said, P.S. Is there an episode 154? I couldn't find it. The archive feed goes from 153 to 155. Did it fly over the Bermuda Triangle? Roberta. And then she actually continued communicating with us and providing a list of several episodes that have been that are missing on the
they're the ones that the YouTube censor pulled.
Could be.
Oh, yeah. That's when Nick came on.
No.
Anything after Nick, then we got rid of it. So I don't recall something happened a few years back, and basically, what did I do? I did something wrong. I eliminated or deleted a bunch of episodes or something, and then I tried to reconstruct
the archive or something like some filing or I don't know.
I don't know exactly what I did, but it's probably all my fault. And so I have hard drives in bins and a storage unit that hopefully still have these episodes on them. And I just have to get around to try to find those
think it's an urgent
hard drives.
You just have to find an old enough computer that'll take your ancient hard drives.
Well, that, and also, so here's the deal. I think, and now I'm remembering a little bit more why I started to do that, and then I kind of gave up a little bit, because the way this whole thing works with a company that provides the storage space for serving these podcast episodes, we pay a certain amount per month for a certain amount of space. And once you've reached that amount of space, and we have the biggest, and unless we go for
biggest.
Yeah, because I like to record on a certain, anyway. And we have long shows. we do a show every week, and if it's a 3-hour or longer show, it just uses up a lot of. So a lot of the times this bandwidth, if you can call it that, or the storage space gets filled up, and I have to upload all those episodes that aren't there, that are missing, using that same monthly amount allocated space, if that makes sense. So I think I got to the point where I could do maybe one every month or maybe 2 every month, and get them back in the archive. And then I think I finally just got tired and stopped doing that, because there are not a lot of people like you, Roberta, who go back and listen to all of the episodes. There are plenty of them out there for you to listen to, but I promise I'll try to find that hard drive and try to re-upload some of these older episodes that should be there. But again, it was my fault. I'm sorry. So there's the explanation for that. Anything else to... we need to answer a question about why did this flight evidently have some issue, and then they worked it out and realized they can continue to North America, but instead of going all the way to Atlanta, they stopped short and landed in Detroit. Why?
Fuel related?
I think Liz has the answer here. Ding, 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 ding. It's likely that they had enough fuel to at least make it to Detroit, but not all the way to Atlanta to have the reserve fuel that's required of these flights. But instead of returning all the way back to Paris or landing in the UK somewhere, they just figured that the least amount of disruption would occur if they just continued or just made it all the way to North America.
2 hours, guys, 2 hours.
And just stopped in Detroit. Now, I don't know. She didn't say, did she, that if it was just a short stopover just to get some added fuel and continue the flight, or if they had to continue the flight the next day? I don't know.
Unsure. I guess I could have been looking that up while you guys were...
Well, you didn't know.
Yeah,
I didn't know you were going to ask that, but I mean, I could have I don't know.
It depends on the emergency, of course, whether they can just refuel and carry on. But if it was a significant mechanical failure and they've got all the way there, the chances of them being able to do a pilot turnaround and get flying again and still carry that snag, I thought would be remote. So they probably try to get as close as possible. Now, they've got a lot of motor manufacturing in Atlanta, Jeff?
A lot of what?
Motor manufacturing, vehicle manufacturing,
automotive manufacturing.
Automotive. What do you guys call things with 4 wheels and an engine?
Cars.
Yeah.
Do you make cars in Atlanta?
And well, kind of not in Atlanta itself, but not too far away. Like LaGrange is a Kia.
I was just thinking that's probably why, if they're carrying a bunch of car manufacturing people, they would land at Detroit so they could get off. But I mean, quite honestly, it's always easier landing at the country of your destination, if not the actual airfield, because if you try and land at an intermediary place like Canada, then you might have a lot of immigration problems, particularly if you can't get the airplane off again for a while. We've had this with medical emergencies diverting, and then the aircraft, has a snag, and you find yourself in a country where half the people on board aren't allowed into that country. It can get really difficult.
Does not sound like fun.
No, it's not. But that's interesting. I love the track. If you can just put that track up again. Sorry. That's classic, because you can see he was heading up towards his oceanic entry just north of Ireland. And then he abruptly does a 180 and turns back, and then enters a holding pattern about 50 miles short of his oceanic entry. And I suspect... depending on, I don't know what the fault was, but, I would have guessed, if I didn't know anything, I would have said he's been denied entry into the oceanic airspace.
Hey, Bob, did you do the oceanic clearance?
That's exactly right.
No, I thought you were going to do that, Skipper.
Yeah.
Oh, dang it.
Is that or a navigational failure? Which, because there are quite strict rules about entering that airspace, what equipment you need. And it might be that they had a problem with sat-nav or whatever, GPSs, and so that they realized they couldn't do an oceanic crossing, and then perhaps they fixed it and then they set off again or got a new clearance or whatever it was. But if they were squawking 77 for a while, I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean they've got a really bad emergency. Sometimes air traffic just want you to put 77 on because it shows up on everybody's radar, and you're much less likely to get bumped into because you're doing something against the flow, you're doing something unusual. So they'll often ask you to put 77 on just so it highlights you on everyone's radar scopes.
And in answer to the other question, it did continue to Atlanta after stopping in Detroit. If I did my time zone math correctly, don't hold me to that. They were on the ground maybe an hour and a half.
Oh, okay. So that's a reasonable length of time for a gas.
Maybe 2 hours.
Sounds like just
gas and
adding
go,
some
as
fuel.
we used to say, as opposed to anything else.
Well, it was an interesting question. Thank you, Roberta, for that. And I guess we can move on
Yeah. Keep
to. Oh, we have another video. This is from Rob. And he says, greetings to the wonderful APG crew and community. We don't often have much aviation news to share from this part of the world. Maybe that's a good thing. In New Zealand. But I thought that this might be of interest. We are proud of our little Air Force down here, which consists of T6C Texans, a few King Airs, 2 temperamental 757s, 2 newly acquired P-8A Poseidons, which is the military 737 used by navies around the world, and until recently 5 C-130H Hercules. The first of these was delivered in 1965 and have done amazing search and rescue, humanitarian, and peacekeeping work throughout the Pacific and beyond for the last 60 years. As we have now received the replacement C-130J-30 aircraft, these faithful workhorses are now being retired. Here in Christchurch, that's a beautiful island. That's a South Island, I think. We are lucky to have the New Zealand Air Force Museum located at the old historic Wigram Air Base. Wigram was the birthplace of the New Zealand Air Force and remained that way until the mid-90s, when the government decided to rationalize their military property, closed the base, and sold off much of the land for housing development. Some of the original land was retained for the Air Force Museum. If you know what you're doing, just enough room to land a Hercules. So last week, February 19, we were lucky to witness the final landing of the very first Hercules delivered to New Zealand at the site of the old Wigram Air Base. Quite a fitting way to end such a long flying career for these wonderful aircraft. And the aircraft, along with a recently retired P-3 Orion, will be proudly displayed at the museum. I highly recommend visiting should anyone be heading this way. By the way, we sadly said goodbye to our strike force of A4 Skyhawks in 2001, but occasionally get a treat when our Aussie neighbors bring over a couple of their F-18s for an air show. We also had a visit from a U.S. Air Force F-16 for Warbirds over Wanaka last year. Love those fast jets. Did I say that right? Wanaka?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Thanks again for providing your informative, entertaining, and addictive show. I must try and find the cure for the syndrome again. Yeah, you and Roberta need to start taking the go around to selling. Best wishes.
Steph will sell you some of that.
Yeah. Best wishes and happy landings to all. This is Rob Woolley down in Christchurch, New Zealand. I've never been there myself, but I hear it's an absolutely gorgeous place.
So video?
I do have a video, and let me. Are we ready for me to hit the button that no pilot should push?
No, I think the old video still is it?
No, that's it.
Okay, that's it. Okay.
Yep. Here we go. Okay. Look at that beautiful bird, that Hercules H model.
Today marks 60 years of service for an incredible flying machine that's been the heart of the RNZAF for the last 6 decades.
And as we think about its service concluding here in Wigram, it's, for me, entirely fitting. Its last landing in the birthplace of the Royal New Zealand Air Force, and importantly, it'll be available for generations to come through the Air Force Museum.
Nice. It's landing on a very short, unprepared surface.
Tower 801.
801, approaches Steph.
You better believe it, we are on the ground in Wickham.
Hey, well done. You have a good afternoon.
This aircraft has served many New Zealanders, foreign partners and militaries across the globe, and it just means so much to so many.
We've done a lot of work to ensure it was going to be done safely, and I think we absolutely saw that. And the crew have trained, they're professional, they know what they're doing, and gee, I was proud to see them conclude right here at Wigram.
I've been fortunate enough to be serving on the C-130 Hercules since 2009, so 15 years. We knew today's activity was always going to be a challenge and would test the professionalism. The first approach was a touch and go around. It was a planned activity to ensure that we could safely achieve the required profile, and we got it in on the second approach.
That was a go.
Look, I think all those, no matter whether they're operating aircrew, ground support, or even those in which if this aircraft's come to their aid in their time of need, will have a very strong sort of thoughts and opinion of the C-130. It's no different for us.
Everybody who's operated it has a very soft spot for it, that's for sure.
It's a pretty surreal feeling, and I think as we came to a stop, what we thought about was the 6 decades of people who had been before us, and that we were the end of this chapter.
What a moment. Very emotional for all those here on the ground watching, and I think it's a great way to conclude a hugely successful history.
All right. The Wakaringa Mutu Air Force Museum. I'm sure I butchered that. Do we have anything to say about this wonderful news? Well, not wonderful news. It's not happy. Well, I guess it's bittersweet, isn't it? The getting rid of the workhorse H models, but they're getting the J models, which are amazing C-130s.
Yeah,
the new ones. Yeah. Was it just me? It sounded like the telephone was ringing in the background the entire time on the back of the video. Maybe it's just my ears.
No, I didn't really hear that.
Things. Okay. It's like a bell sound, like the old telephone bell sound. Yeah, I don't know. It's probably me just going crazy.
I would say if you're listening to the audio only podcast, be sure to click on the link in the show notes and watch that video. Yeah, just
see the first
like everything about
landing.
The first landing, especially.
First touch and go.
Oh, the bounce and go.
The bounce and
yeah,
go.
that's it. We're gonna touch for a millisecond and then leap back into the air again.
Al Boxer says, "I want a C-130H prop ceiling fan." Well, you'd have to have a pretty big room, I think.
Yeah,
those things pretty big. Yeah.
And of course, if you got the engine as well, you could really cool your house down.
It would definitely. It would definitely cool it down.
And drive all of your neighbors insane with the sound.
Yes. Which he probably already does. All right. Let's boom, bam. Thank you. Okay.
7.
I know. I'm just trying to find the window that has Evernote in it. Okay. Here we go. This is from Mahzuz, Dr. Kareem. Hello, Captain Jeff and crew. Hope you're all keeping well. I was going to say sleeping. Hope you are all keeping well. I was interested in the discussion this week, of course, that was probably a while ago, regarding the recent Endeavour incident at Toronto. One of the things that particularly caught my attention was the fact that the aircraft came to rest upside down, providing considerable additional obstacles with regard to evacuation. Is this a scenario that is covered in cabin crew training? Presumably, having a plane full of passengers hanging upside down and held in place, hopefully, by their seatbelts only adds to the sense of panic. I guess it would not be a great idea for everyone to unfasten their seatbelts simultaneously and hit the floor head first, possibly keeping Dr. Steph in business for the next few years. Yeah, she endorses that procedure. Would the crew have to go around and help each passenger down individually? Once everyone's on the floor, which now is the ceiling, or which is used to be the ceiling, and reaches the exits, how is the departure from the aircraft managed? The evacuation slides are presumably too high, upside down, and possibly oriented incorrectly. The crew on this flight obviously managed a great job despite all the additional challenges. Talons, Douglas. Best wishes, Mahzuz. Good questions, Mahzuz. Who wants to try to tackle?
I can tackle the latter ones first. The
Okay.
CRJ 900 I don't think has any slides. So that's, yeah.
But what if it were not a CRJ, like
that's
another
good question.
airliner?
I mean, I guess you'd probably want to disarm them first, depending on how the door is oriented. So it's not going to be a barrier as long as you don't need them or need it for a water evacuation or something. So that's one of those things where you guys definitely can chime in on this, but you can drill for a lot of things in life. You know, you can have procedures and policies in place, but not everything is going to follow some sort of expected course of action all of the time. So you really have to use good judgment and common sense to the best of your ability to figure out how to, handle a very unusual, uncommon situation.
Huh?
What?
What?
Yeah, well said. Yeah, of course, if the height of the floor of the aircraft is less than 6 feet is the critical distance, then you above the ground when you're, parked, then you don't need slides, because that's considered a suitable height to jump from. Yeah, I quite agree. It's the cabin crew get a lot of training in all sorts of incidents, and if there has been an interesting one like this, then there may well be a discussion the next time the cabin crew do their annual training, but it certainly won't be regulated by the regulatory authority for it to become a compulsory piece of training to evacuate from an upside-down airplane, for the very reason that none of the safety equipment is designed specifically to operate when the airplane's upside down. So that is because having an aircraft crash and having to evacuate the aircraft is a pretty rare occurrence. Having to do it for an upside down aircraft is even more rare, and eventually you have to reach the point in the likelihood of an incident or an accident where it is so unlikely to happen that it becomes pointless trying to train for it, because you would repeat the training, and it would never happen. Once in a blue moon. On the other hand, the normal type of evacuation and dealing with emergencies that the cabin crew deal with does come around, but even then it's so rare that the chances of the average cabin crew getting to do an evacuation during their entire career are still very remote. The vast majority of cabin crew will serve their entire time with the airline and leave never having done one, let alone one that is from an upside-down airplane. So Steph is exactly right. You can train for a lot of likely emergency situations, all of which are pretty remote anyway, but doing one from, say, an unusually positioned aircraft, you just got to use your common sense, of which our cabin crew usually have an abundance. And when it comes to sort of getting the passengers out of their seats, I think most of you would realize that you've got to release your seatbelt to get yourself down, and you try and protect yourself best you can. The cabin crew aren't going to catch you, that's for sure, because they've got other duties. I think it's up to you to find your way out of your seat. They will certainly, as people evacuate, go and check to make sure everyone has successfully released themselves and help out anyone that's having a few problems. But I can't imagine them dreaming up a way of coordinating everyone releasing their seatbelts in a manner that is less likely to cause some kind of injury. In fact, there were very few injuries in this, despite the awful visuals.
It's very
of
dramatic.
This aircraft careering down, ball of flame, upside down, wings flying around. I was amazed that there wasn't major loss of life, but I think everyone did a great job in this particular case.
Did you all see any of the memes out there?
Yes.
and we could do that because there weren't any fatalities involved in this accident, but the commercials with Delta, and then like halfway through that everything is upside down, and very cute. I thought it was very fun. Ed Kof, speaking of cute, this might be a question Denzel Washington could answer. Yeah. What was that name of that flight?
Flight.
I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The movie.
Only if I wrote his script, though.
Anyway,
Jeff,
that's a good one.
One more before you wrap up.
All right.
Do Kevin's number 5,
Yeah.
and then we'll wrap it up.
Let's do that. Number 5 from Kevin Parody. And let's see, from APG 637, his aviation journey. Hello, APG crew. Kevin Parody from North Metro Atlanta here. Back on APG 637, Captain Jeff discussed our chance meeting at his favorite campground, which is Shady Grove. And just so everyone knows, if you ever run into Captain Jeff out in the wild and mention that you listen to the show, the first thing he'll ask you is if you've ever sent feedback to the show. That's true. Well, until now, I've only been a lurker listener since probably around the APG 350 mark. A lot has changed since on the show, but until recently, not much for me. I navigated flight training through COVID and other delays, and eventually got a job time building with our state forestry commission, state of Georgia. Although a great experience, it was not great for building time quickly. There were definitely times when I questioned what I had gotten myself and my family into with this midlife crisis. I mean, career change. APG, that's cute. APG helped me keep motivated, but I never felt that I had something worthwhile to write in about until now. A couple of weeks ago, nearly 7 years to the day after I started flight training, I received a conditional job offer with a regional carrier that, let's say, is named after the central geographic regions of Georgia and North Carolina. Y'all let me know if you come up with a good Acme name for that.
Mm-hmm. Plateau Airline.
Acme Plateau.
Mm-hmm.
Acme, what is that area called? The Piedmont? Yeah.
Piedmont, yeah.
Oh, we can't use that name. Anyways, just wanted to send in my first feedback to say thank you to the crew and community for keeping me motivated and to keep up the good work. Kind regards, Kevin Parody.
Yeah,
so
well done.
Definitely.
Nice job, Kevin.
Way to go.
Congratulations.
Nice job, Kevin.
Good stuff.
Wow. That's
Perseverance,
amazing.
right? 7 years. And now some people would say, that was quick.
Well, I'll just say if you end up in Charlotte for training, whenever you get a class date, let me know.
Yeah. Is that where they do the training for that company in Charlotte?
I believe
Yeah.
some of the ground stuff, especially.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
Yeah.
you should send us more feedback.
Yeah, send us more feedback and let us know how it's going.
If you find yourself with a free day, let me know.
I want to know what job you're doing with the Forestry Commission. That sounds
Yeah, write in and tell us more about that. Even though it
Yeah,
was
that
slow
does
for time
sound-
building, it was probably
Looking at
interesting
trees.
flying.
Yeah.
Looking for fires and stuff, maybe? Fire.
Counting trees. 1, 2,
Counting
3,
trees.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
In the North Georgia area?
It'd be easier to do that with a helicopter than an airplane, I'm thinking.
Run out of fuel.
Well,
I think
congratulations.
you could just make up some numbers.
Yeah.
1.5 billion plus one.
Yeah, does that sound
Who's gonna
reasonable?
know?
Yeah, so Kevin, tell us about what you were doing with the Georgia Forestry Commission, and also keep us aware. What's the word I'm looking for?
Apprised.
Apprised. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you.
Abreast.
Abreast. Okay, abreast. I
Nicer.
like abreast, like most people. Sometimes too. Anyway, let us know what you're doing, and it'd be great if you could get together with Dr. Steph and have a beer and share all those things as well. So,
If you
all
have
right.
time.
If you have time, yeah, you might be a little busy. Yeah, that's cool. And just to remind everybody that chance meeting, I just happened to be on a hike or walk through the campground, and all of a sudden this person pulls in and goes, "Captain Jeff?" And I went, "Huh?" Like, who in the world would possibly know that? Yeah, because I was nowhere near my motorhome or anything. I was just out there walking by myself. Anyway,
It's that
super cool.
mustache.
Yeah, it was the mustache, I guess. All right.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Kevin. And with that, we're going to wrap up this baby. And we're going to make it a short wrap up. We're going to say, go to our website, airlinepilotguy.com. Lots of good stuff there. I'm not going to tell you all the things. You just need to figure it out yourself. Go. And also, we're on social media, the social medias, I like to call it. And that last one, Steph, you can just say Airline Pilot Guy.
Got it. So I'll do it quickly as well. Facebook.com/airlinepilotguy. X or at APG Crew. Instagram.com or on the app, also APG Crew. YouTube.com/airlinepilotguy.
And Hillel is going to tell us about Slack.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas, we suggest episode and plain tales topics, we plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com. Or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. And you can be a slacker over there with Hillel and all the other slackers. And, look at we see, let's see, that is Taco in the background in Steph's office. Such a cute dog.
Hi, buddy. What are you talking about?
And, there we go. There's a little bit bigger view of him. And let's see, what else do we do? We say thank you to Liz, our producer. There we go.
Well done, Liz.
Nice short applause.
yeah, that's all I need. I don't deserve any more than that.
Yes, you do.
All
I really appreciate all the work that you do. We all appreciate all the work that you do, Liz, for us. Let's see, anything else before we sign off? Okay. Well, thanks everyone for
Nick's
continuing.
Bye, Bye, Nick.
Oh yeah, we'll see you, Nick.
Bye, Nick.
Where'd I go?
I don't know. We can still hear you, but we don't see you anymore.
Because you're audio only, very fitting for a podcast.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? It's probably on Unity we're hearing him, right?
No, I can hear him.
No,
I'm
you
not
hear
on
him
Unity.
too?
No.
Oh, okay.
He's
Cool.
back.
Oh, there he is.
He's back.
He's playing tricks on us.
Camera
Anyway.
stop.
So, thank you for everybody in our live chat, and thank you everybody for listening, downloading the show, telling others about us. And, we hope to see you again next week on the next episode of the Airline Pilot Guy Show. And until then, wishing you clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care, and God bless.
Cheers, y'all.
Bye, buddy.
See you next time, and you'll be able to see Jeff's apartment.
Yeah, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Good day.
I used to be such a good pilot till I started APG. I opened doors for little old ladies. I helped them to their seats. Airline pilot guy, I fly America. Oh, airline pilot guy, he can land in heavy fog. I got no friends 'cause I'm always flying. I just don't have the time. But I can land this old plane. I can land it just fine. Airline